Hi all, this is Priyadarshini working as an assistant professor in the Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science. Today we are going to continue with the previous lecture topic file allocation under principles of operating systems. So in the previous lecture series we saw what is a file. So as we all know, file is a collection of recorded information. So why do we need file allocation? So file allocation is nothing but it defines how the file or how the directory being stored in the secondary storage disk. So we saw previously there are three different file allocation methods are available. So contiguous, linked, indexed allocation. So in the previous two lecture series, we saw about contiguous allocation as well as linked allocation of blocks. Hope you're clear with that. In this lecture series, we are going to see about the indexed allocation of the file system. So why do we need file allocation? So the main idea of file allocation is to have the efficient space utilization of the secondary storage devices as well as for the faster access of the file blocks. So now we'll see what is contiguous. So as I told you previously, contiguous allocation is nothing but the continuous sets of blocks will be allocated for a particular file. So in the directory structure of the contiguous allocation, we will have the starting address of the file as well as the length of the file block. So this is how the directory structure will be given for contiguous allocation. Now let's see about linked list allocation. So the linked list allocation will have the pointers being pointed to different files. Here the directory structure of the linked list allocation will have the starting address of the file as well as the final entry of the file will also be given in the directory structure. So both the starting block and the end block will be given in the directory of the linked list allocation. So now we'll see about the third allocation method called indexed allocation. So what is indexed allocation? In this scheme, that is in indexed allocation, a special block called the index block which contains the pointers to all the blocks that has been occupied by a file. Remember that for each different file, each file will have its own index block. What does the index block will contain? It contains the disk address of all the file blocks that is being allocated to the particular file. So the directory entry will contain the address of the index block. So the starting address, that is the address of the index block, will be written in the directory. Consider an example. So here the file name is zip. It contains the index block 19. So the 19th block will contain the disk address of all the files of all the file blocks that is being occupied by this particular file zip. So remember, for each different file it will have its own index block. So this is how indexed allocation is being used. Now let's discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the indexed allocation method. So when we talk about the advantage of this indexed allocation, as we all know, the indexed allocation and the linked allocation will overcome the problem of external fragmentation. So it overcomes external fragmentation, and also the indexed allocation provides the direct access to the file. So there is a very fast access between the file block can be done in indexed allocation. Now let's see what are the disadvantages in indexed allocation. So the first disadvantage will be the pointer overhead. Comparatively to linked allocation, the pointer overhead is more in indexed allocation, is greater in indexed allocation. Also, Since if the index block contains only 2 to 3 files also, each file will have a separate index block, which leads to inefficient in memory utilization. So if it is a very small size file, say some 2 to 3 blocks file is also available, there also a separate index block will be stored for accessing the address of the 2 to 3 block files. So this deals with an inefficient in memory utilization. So these are some disadvantages of indexed allocation. So if the files are very large, one single index block may not be able to hold all the pointers. So for this, we have several mechanisms to resolve. So the first one is called the linked scheme. So in this linked scheme, two or more index blocks will be connected to the pointers. The next one is multi-level index. In this, a first level index will point to the second level index block, which in turn points to the disk blocks occupied by the file. This can be extended up to 3 to 4 levels depending on the file size. The last this problem resolution is done through combined scheme. So in this scheme, a special information node, Inode, will be there containing all the information about the file, such as your name, size, authority, etc. And the remaining space will be occupied by the Inode, which is about your information node. So this will contain the actual file. Here you have two types. One is direct block type and the other one is indirect block type. Thank you.